program that is hosted by School of Humanities in partnership with the Al-Fatim Education Foundation. All learners within the program got scholarships from the Al-Fatim Education Foundation, and we worked on our skills, mindsets, and behaviors in order to tackle real-world problems.
We are really excited to be hosting our showcase with you today at the DUBAI CARES Pavilion at Expo 2020. For the last 6 months, our cohort has been tackling global challenges and designing solutions that push humanity forward. We have participated in internships and received mentorship throughout the journey. Today, we're excited to be showcasing our work with you. So over the next hour, we will be presenting 4-minute presentations with our learners who are going to be sharing their learning journey with you.
But before we get started, just a few important notices. Please keep your mask on at all times. Presenters on stage are allowed to have their masks off. Please keep your mobile phones on silent as to avoid any interruptions. And if you do choose to share any insights and moments from today on Twitter or Instagram, please tag @SOFHumanities, @AFEF, and @DubaiCares.
So without further ado, I'd like to invite the founder of School of Humanity, Raya, who will be giving us a recap about the program. And for those of you who don't know her, Raya is an award-winning educator and serial entrepreneur. She has been featured by the BBC as one of the 100 most inspiring and influential women globally. Can we please have a round of applause for her?
Hi everyone, good evening. Thank you so much for all of you who joined us today. I know it wasn't easy to get to Expo today, so we are grateful that we have a full house, and we're really excited to showcase our learners' journey with you today. I'm going to keep this super short because I want to hand back the spotlight to the learners, but just to give you a quick recap of the program and what we accomplished in the last 6 months. So the Future Fluencies is a program hosted in partnership with the Al-Fatim Education Foundation. Essentially, it's a program with a really innovative learning model and an interdisciplinary curriculum. All of the learners you've met during the exhibitions develop their skills, mindsets, and behaviors by tackling real-world challenges. So we had about 26 learners who embarked upon 5 different pathways with 4 career path partners, and I'll talk to you about what that means. Keep in mind that every learner in there had over 200 hours of learning experiences, so this was a really rigorous program. They were doing 10 hours a week over 6 months, and there's a whole team of mentors and educators from around the world that supported their learning journey, many of whom couldn't necessarily make it today. So how does it work? When learners join the Future Fluencies program, they pick a challenge, a broad challenge. This could be future of medicine, future of money, and we'll look at few other examples. Then they go deeper into the challenge and investigate sub-challenges to find solutions to that challenge. And in the process, they upskill, they develop new mindsets and new dispositions as well. There was a combination of self-paced learning that they did in their own time and lots of workshops, mentorship sessions with industry experts, and lots of personalized learning. Every learner in the program today had their own curriculum, had their own learning experience. So these are the pathways you're going to hear from. They were future of healthcare, future of space, future of money, future of education, future of art. So together they made the Future Fluencies. In month 2 of the program, learners realized, okay, in order to solve this problem, I need to upskill. I need to learn new skills in order to effectively tackle this challenge. That is where they deep dived into skills such as biomimicry, financial literacy, biotechnology, statistical analysis, and even soft skills like how to learn, organizational skills, and much more. And for all of these, you're going to hear a few examples of the skill paths as well. Finally, and this is probably one of the most exciting parts, in month 4, the learners got to experience micro-internships. This is where we partnered with leading organizations from around the world that offered another challenge to the learner that they embarked upon solving. We had the Alma Observatory from Chile, Takalam, which is the online counseling platform from the UAE, Upschool, which is the Turkish platform that is upskilling women in technology, and Houdini School, which is an organization from the United States that educates people around using special effects software. And all of these organizations had a really positive experience working with our learners. A few additional things that happened. So some of our learners have either or are going to present at conferences all around the UAE on some of the experiences they've had so far. These include the Knowledge Summit, Dubai World Forum, as well as other public-facing events. We also did a number of events with our university partners. We had a boot camp for parents on the future of work for your kids. And some of our learners also participated in the UNDP Data for Development program. Now I want to wrap up my bit by sharing this quote from one of the learners. And this person said that they would not have been able to take part in the program without the scholarship. They're very thankful for the opportunity as they now have a new set of skills, knowledge, projects to showcase, new additions to their portfolio, and new connections to industry experts. So with that, I want to express gratitude to the Al-Futtaim Education Foundation for making sure every learner here had that opportunity. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Raya. It really has been an action-packed 6 months. I'd now like to invite Mrs. Mira Al-Futtaim to say a few words. Mrs. Mira Al-Futtaim is one of the members of the Al-Futtaim Education Foundation, board members of the Al-Futtaim Education Foundation, and is the Director of Education Futures. Please welcome me and join her.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My daughter insisted that she comes up here, so she's here. Thank you, Raya, and I think the quote you shared really touched our hearts because this is actually the impact that we are trying to get to at the Al-Futtaim Education Foundation. So we really believe in the talent and the potential of our students and providing them with the opportunity of really exploring what they're good at, strengths, and getting these opportunities, presenting at the places that they would present and have presented at would really give them an experience that is really one of a kind. So I would like to say that I'm sure all of you here today really are not the same students or people you were when you first started the program. And I'm saying this because probably your minds have expanded. You became better communicators, you became better thinkers, you look at the world from a different perspective. And this is what we're trying to get to. At the Al-Futtaim Education Foundation, we're invested in academic excellence, but we really want to go beyond academia and provide opportunities such as this one, identifying meaningful partners such as the School of Humanity, and partnerships where really you can see the added value that brings to the school, brings to the community, the students, and how that kind of translates into the classroom. So really the students here are ambassadors of the program into the school, and we're really proud of them. We're proud of the time that they have committed to this program. It's not easy. I know you have a lot of responsibilities. You have a rigorous curriculum. On top of that, you are committed to this program, which will really serve you well moving forward. I'm sure that along the way you have identified new skills or identified strengths that will really be part of you as you become future leaders, thinkers, and influencers, regardless of the pathway you chose in the program. So I would like to say, when I come to Expo, really I'm inspired and I learn new things and I leave with a positive energy. And I'm sure that leaving the showcase, I'll feel the same way about your presentations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Miro, and the rest of Al-Futtaim Education Foundation for your constant support. One of the things that make our experience here at the School of Humanity different is that we learn by making the world a better place. Learners in this cohort participated in 5 different pathways: the future of medicine, future of education, future of money, future of space, and lastly, the future of art. They designed solutions to real problems in the world under these pathways. They were also matched with industry mentors who provided them with personalized guidance and support throughout their journey. So now we'll be hearing from some of those learners, but keep in mind, today's presentations are not pitches, but rather a showcase of their work throughout the School of Humanity program. So for our first presentation, I'd like to welcome Pradi, Ismail, and Roxanne, who will be talking about NFTs and how they made it more accessible to the developing world.
Thank you so much, Sama, for that. So just to begin, can you have a raise of hands? Who here knows what a cryptocurrency or NFT is? Okay, see, that's a fair amount of people. However, if I was to ask the same question to any member of one of these underdeveloped countries, this most likely would not be the case. And through research, we found that each of these countries, what they have in common is a very low financial literacy rate. So this being prevalent in our case study of Nigeria with a 31.1% financial literacy rate. So this brings us to our narrowed down problem statement of providing easier access to funds through modern forms of currency for people in lower economically developing countries. This being that cryptocurrency is just a widespread and really new coming economy, and countries such as El Salvador, for example, are moving towards a token-based economy.
Now, before we get started, just some background into some of the technical aspects. What is a cryptocurrency? A cryptocurrency is a digital currency or asset that holds a value and is traded upon. It's generally traded upon a blockchain type of network. Now, a blockchain is a ledger that keeps a record of all the transactions that occur within a cryptocurrency. And using that concept, NFTs were developed. And now, an NFT is a non-fungible token, which means that every token holds a different value. They are traded upon on platforms such as OpenSea, and using that concept, we came to our solution.
So let's look at the aspects of our solution. This is the homepage of our device solution NFT Ace marketplace. So on the homepage, you can connect to your wallet, preferred wallet, which is MetaMask, which holds the cryptocurrencies that you have. And we're looking at ETH as the primary cryptocurrency in these transactions. So you can see your account address and your account balance on the homepage. Now to mint your NFT, on the next page, we created a basic framework of which you can customize 15 different components of the NFTs using various colors and HTML color indexing. You can create your own NFT's name, set the price you want, even randomizing the colors, and mint your NFT. Once you mint your NFT, it goes on to the NFT marketplace. So what does the marketplace hold? It holds every single NFT minted on this on the localhost platform, and includes all the NFTs minted with the token ID, name, the owners who minted the NFT, the tokens, owners of the NFT, and the number of transfers. You can also view the NFTs that you personally own, the ones that you have been minted yourself, and the ones that you've purchased later on. We also have a query section, and this is to help to obtain the owner address and the metadata of said NFT. You just simply upload your token ID, you can get your owner address, and you can even get the metadata of a token, which comprises the exact value of the NFTs. And here's an example of the transaction when connected to the MetaMask wallet.
Now, how do we actually use this to solve our problem? So we decided to go to connect with charities that already have established connections with underrepresented artists within these NEBCs. And what we did is we allowed it so that artists would be able to upload their NFTs onto our marketplace without having a gas fee. This creates an incentive for them to participate within our platform, which not only gives them exposure to the world of NFTs, the world of cryptocurrency, and the modern financial tools, but also allows them to raise funds which can be reinvested back into the economies to improve education on financial literacy.
And I would just like to reiterate that our prototype is fully functional, so please feel free to come to our exhibition and play around with our network and mint your own NFT using one of our test networks.
And with the development of our project, through root cause analysis and developing a prototype surrounding our problem statement, we acquired many skills. This being softer skills such as communication and collaboration, skills such as understanding the blockchain and cryptocurrency, as well as more technical skills such as JavaScript, web design, and prototyping. So via the combination of these skills, the School of Humanity enabled us to provide easier access to funds through modern financial tools for people in lower economically developing countries. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for that excellent presentation. I'd now like to invite Mariam, who will share her learning journey with us. Mariam was on the Future of Medicine pathway and designed a research proposal to tackle the increasing costs of medicine. Please join me in welcoming Mariam.
Hey, so my name's Mariam and I'm from the Future of Medicine pathway, and I'm going to be discussing my research proposal, which is looking into medical drug development. So here's a brief overview of what I'm going to go over today. I'm first going to introduce you to the topic, and then I'm going to discuss some of my main research and findings. And then I'd like to end off with key skills and concepts, and lastly, my reflections throughout my journey. So the price of insulin has nearly tripled in the time span of a decade in the US, from $93 in 2009 to almost $275 in 2019. This is just a single example of a life-saving drug with an inflated price. 1 in 4 people with diabetes in the US are either skipping or skimping life-saving doses. Are we really so inhumane that we'd rather be rich than alive? Because essentially the proliferating prices of drugs is costing lives. The 2 main reasons as to why some drugs are so highly priced is because of the existence of monopolies, which can abuse their market power, and the drug manufacturing process is also taken into consideration. Now, I want you to imagine a world where your chances of surviving are no longer correlated to the affordability of your medications. This is what I'm here to discuss with you today, the future of medicine against the conventional drug development process. Okay, so usually drug development for an entirely new drug can take up to 12 years, and costs can go as high as up to billions of US dollars or dirhams. And even with that, there's a really high chance of failure, and only 10 to 20% of new drugs successfully make it into the market. However, with AI, artificial intelligence, entirely new drugs can take up to just 3 years, and this is basically done by repurposing compounds that already exist. And since they've already been used before, they have known safety profiles and they don't really require FDA approval. An example of a drug that's been discovered by AI by a company called Therapeutics is BXCL501, which is a potential acute treatment for neuropsychiatric disorders such as schizophrenia and bipolar disorder 1 and 2. So moving on, some of my key skills and concepts that I've learned are time management, because of course it's balancing IB and School of Humanity at the same time. And then researching skills, because I did my prototype in the form of a research proposal, which I'll show you in one of the next few slides. And then writing skills, and with that also came a growth mindset, because I have to keep making amendments based on new research findings or just like feedback given to me by my mentor. And 2 other concepts is just ethical considerations with medicine and with technology, and then root cause analysis into problems. Some of my key takeaways are realizing how much scope and opportunity artificial intelligence provides us with, and then just like getting a deeper insight into what the future holds in terms of medicine and technology. And I've gotten even more passionate about medicine. And then lastly, goal setting. So it's really important to set small milestones in order to achieve bigger ones. And quite frankly, I wouldn't have been able to finish my prototype if I didn't set myself goals weekly. Here's just a screenshot of my research proposal. I'd like to end off with saying a special thanks to Paul, Raya, and Aisha for continuously supporting me throughout my School of the Humanities journey. And lastly, I'd like to thank you guys for being here today and listening. Feel free to contact me via LinkedIn or email. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mariam, for sharing your scientific research proposal and your insights. Our next presenter is Zaina, who was on the Future of Education pathway. Zaina will present her solution, which is a policy recommendation that proposes a new structure to the school week in the UAE and beyond. Can we please have a round of applause for Zaina?
How many of you have wanted to try a new activity but haven't had enough time to do so? How many of you would love to have a 4-day working week? Well, I have created a policy recommendation which would allow you to do both. The problem I chose to focus on was the high rates of mental disorders in students, particularly depression, anxiety, and insomnia. The root causes of this problem are that requirements from curriculum boards are too high, which results in heavy workloads for students. This often leaves them little leisure time, and they often have to give up activities which they enjoy, resulting in high rates of mental disorders. To give you an idea of how large the scale of the problem is, 14% of 10 to 19-year-olds globally experience a mental disorder. Insomnia has a 9.4% prevalence in 13 to 16-year-olds. 4.6% of 15 to 19-year-olds have anxiety, and 2.8% have depression. For my solution, I have proposed a new structure to the school week, where 4 days would continue as normal school days, while the 5th would be exclusively allocated to extracurricular activities. These could include languages, arts, sports, and music. The process of designing the solution began by researching the link between school hours and academic achievement. I then devised a student survey which was completed by secondary students in their international school to collect data on their mental well-being and on their opinions of the proposed changes. I then used this data to support my policy recommendation. This was one of the questions on the student survey, asking how difficult students found it to balance extracurriculars with academics. On a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being extremely difficult, most students reported that this was a challenge. The key skills I acquired throughout this process included research skills, data analysis skills, written communication skills, and organizational skills. There were 2 key takeaways from this project. The first was that more hours of school does not necessarily result in better achievement, as students must be in the correct mental state to learn. The second was that students should be given the chance to explore their interests rather than being forced to specialize at an early age. If the solution were to be implemented, there would be improved mental health for students. They would have more opportunities as they would have more areas of expertise, which would give them a greater breadth of career choices, and improved physical and social well-being as students would be exposed to communities based on their interests, which would give them a sense of belonging and allow them to interact with other individuals. 68% of students who completed the survey reported that they thought the proposed changes would improve their mental well-being. The global movement towards a 4-day working week is initiating a positive change which can hopefully move into schools soon. Thank you for listening, and you can contact me through my email and LinkedIn.
Thank you so much, Zaina, for sharing your overview of policies in the education space. One of the challenges that we are currently facing in the healthcare space is mistrust in institutions and vaccines. Abdulrahman and Saif sought to tackle this issue. So can we please have a round of applause for Abdulrahman and Saif?
Hi everyone, I'm Saif Al-Daoud.
Hi, I'm Abdulrahman Asad. Before we start, I would like to ask a question. Please raise your hands if you know an anti-vaxxer or had an experience with one. Well, that's the case with a lot of us. And 4 months ago, me and Saif were presented with the challenge of solving a real-life problem in the world of medicine. And given the current situation, we realized that there's a huge number of anti-vaxxers living in our world. And this drove us to look deeper into the root causes of the problem.
So now let's move on to the root causes of the problem. Number 1, spread of misinformation. Number 2, lack of training and representation from doctors. And number 3, lack of unbiased information online about the topic.
So there's a lot of spread of misinformation on social media algorithms, which means that there's a lot of misinformation on big social media platforms such as Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And the information that's being spread online is actually biased, which means that it only talks about one side of the story rather than both. And the people spreading this information are actually not medical professionals, and sometimes they don't really know what they're talking about. And this could be because they have had one bad personal experience with vaccines that changed their perspective about the topic. And I actually had a friend whose parents are anti-vaxxers, and believe it or not, to this day, they still have not taken the COVID vaccine. So, what do we really mean about lack of training and representation? So, there's a lack of events and exhibitions that teach the public about vaccines and inform them about how they're beneficial. And doctors, a lot of the time, doctors don't go out of their way to teach people about vaccines before actually giving them the vaccine. And believe it or not, a lot of people think that doctors aren't trained well enough to give people vaccines. So a quick overview of our solution, which is a website. So we have an overview page and a curated resources page.
In the overview page, we have a quick intro about ourselves, and then we have our ambitions in life. After that, we have why we chose the project and how this project will help improve the world. And in the curated resources page, we have a section here on why vaccines are beneficial, and then another section on why people think vaccines are not beneficial. This is great because even anti-vaxxers will be able to click on the link because they know that this website is unbiased. And knowing that, they might be intrigued into clicking some of the links in the why vaccines are beneficial, and over time that might change their overall perspective on the topic. So some of the skills that we have learned throughout the journey are time management skills, organizational skills, working as a group, and website building. And some of the solutions that were contributed into solving the problem and making the actual website are root cause analysis, which is basically just like digging deeper into the problem, and design prototype, which is actually making the website, and measuring impact. So we have measured the impact of our website on people, mainly anti-vaxxers. Me and Abdurrahman would like to give a special thanks to the School of Humanity and the Dubai Cares Pavilion for giving us the opportunity to present your expo to all of you wonderful people. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for that insightful presentation. So next, we're going to hear from 3 amazing women that wanted to increase the female participation in cryptocurrencies. Most of us have seen that leaders and pioneers in the crypto space are often men. However, Kritika, Fatima, and Sarah decided to do something about this. Can we please have a round of applause for them?
Before we start with our presentation, I have a question. How many of you guys know women who are involved in the cryptocurrency and finance field? Please raise your hands up. In reality, this number would not be realistic because in significant parts of the world, it would be really, really low. Our outline for today's presentation: less than 5%. Cryptocurrency is a currency that exists digitally, and it is decentralized using a network called blockchain, which helps track transactions for people around the world. Our problem is that there's a lack of women in the representation of cryptocurrency, and our solution helps to form a significant app and a learning online platform which can help solve our solution. Less than 5% of women are crypto investors, and 19% of them are crypto entrepreneurs. This is a really low amount, and this is a really low amount in comparison to the number of men, and it is really exceedingly prominent that males dominate the world of cryptocurrency. Our problem is that there's a lack of representation of women, and our online platform can help solve this. Men typically rise to a higher status in comparison to women in certain number of fields. For example, among senior roles in venture capital firms, women basically are really low, and they have no idea what they're supposed to do, whereas males really have the idea of what they're going to do, and their ideas get pushed forward.
So what is our solution? Our solution is Arcanum. It's an academy which encourages women to join the world of crypto through our app and our workshops. It is a direct and quick access to people having difficulties finding the resources to learn and start learning crypto. Fun fact, crypto in Greek actually means secret, and another word for secret is Arcanum. So our app is allows you to sit at home and learn through condensed amount of information and short videos. People of all categories can take the time out of their day to learn and educate themselves about the crypto world for better future advancements. So how does it work? Our app offers short modules or courses which teach you about the fundamentals of crypto, such as mining, NFTs, blockchain and the crypto market, the fluctuations within it, and how to sell and buy crypto accordingly. Our academy, how will it work? Workshops are held on GatherTown to educate women exclusively on the world of crypto. To exclusively educate women, and it acts as a safe space for women to educate themselves and interact with each other, to be motivated and learn and evolve in the world of crypto.
If you guys don't have any idea what GatherTown is a web software where people can go on conferences, meetings, and interact with each other. These meeting channels can help people interact with the objects that are in the meeting rooms as well, which is also similar to Zoom. As you can see, we have classrooms where students can learn how to mint NFTs in the most effective way possible. We also have computer labs where our learners can help interact with each other, motivate each other, and basically learn how to buy and sell crypto in the most effective way possible.
Over the course of our project, we were able to develop many skills, such as problem solving, which allowed us to face challenges and brainstorm solutions, collaboration and contribution to our team, and in general, just being literate about the world and our culture we live in, and which helped us empathize to find solutions to people who were suffering from this problem. Our journey. Throughout our workshop sessions, we were able to learn the fundamentals of crypto, such as NFTs, blockchains, crypto markets, and many more. This resulted in us finding our passion for helping women be more involved in crypto. We were also able to find causes to our problems, which received feedback from our mentor Tariq, who was a great help. Next, we were able to brainstorm and conclude to a solution, which also received intense feedback from all our mentors and our teams. And finally, we are here presenting and sharing this solution to everyone here. Our team. This is the end of our presentation. Feel free to keep in touch with us on our socials, and if you have any questions, we are more than happy to answer. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sarah, Fatima, and Kritika for sharing your project with us. Now, in order to effectively solve challenges in the world, we need to upskill. This is why during the second month of the program, we embarked on Skill Paths, which were self-paced learning pathways on the School of Humanity platform. Examples of skill paths included softer skills such as time management and how to learn, and more technical skills such as Python programming and biomimicry. We'll hear from some learners that excelled on their skill path and learn from their experiences. First in this segment, I'd like to introduce Bilal, who completed a skill path in the biotechnology during the program. But Bilal will share the skills he developed during the biotechnology skill path and the implications it has on humanity. Please help me in introducing Bilal.
My biotechnology skill path, made by me. So I want to ask everybody a question in the audience. Have you ever gotten your molars removed? Raise your hand up. So like I told you, in the near future, you don't even have to go and step a foot inside of a dentist's office. You can go and just engineer it out of your genome. Hi, my name is Bilal Nusko, and I'm in charge of 16-year-old with my hobbies being around 3D printing and video games, and my interests of being around biotechnology. And that's what I'm here to go and talk to you about. So, what is biotechnology? Well, biotechnology is science and engineering combined into one, and they use organisms to go make products. An example of this is bread, because we use yeast to go make bread. Now, what did I learn in the biotechnology skill path? Well, I learned a number of things. I learned about the application of genetics. I learned about bioethics. I learned about CRISPR, nanotechnology, and synthetic biology. Now, you might be thinking, what is CRISPR? Well, CRISPR stands for clustered regularly interspaced short palindrome repeats, and it allows us to go and cut segments of DNA, and we use this technology to go and just make genetically engineered insulin. Now, what did I do in the skill path? Well, I talked about bioethical principles to go and set boundaries for biotechnology. I made a skill concept map, and I made a document of detailing using a biotechnology to go and solve real-world problems, and that's what I'm going to be talking about. So, sometimes in hot, arid countries, they can't make food because obviously it's hot and arid. So, a biotechnology's resolution is we use the genes from cactus, and we put that in use the heat-resistant genes in a cactus, and then put it inside a potato in order to make it heat-resistant. Then we put that to the test and see how well it does. And this will lead to the how in every country having an economy or industry around agriculture. Another one is Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's starts off with the abnormal buildup of a specific protein around the brain cells. One of the solutions to this is that we train the immune system to go and attack these specific protein using a vaccine. Now, my reflections. So what did I learn about it? What did I grow as an individual? Well, I allowed me to go pursue my deepest passions, and I learned about more humanity and humility. So I want to give honors to Raya for providing me with this opportunity. I want to give thanks to my medicine mentor, Paul, for providing constructive criticism on my works. I want to thank Stefan for helping me out with the blood sugar level project tracker. And I want to thank my parents. I want to thank them for keeping me motivated and driving me to the in-person location. I want to thank my teammates for being such good comrades. And I want to thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Bilal, for that fascinating presentation on advancements in genetic engineering and beyond. I'd now like to invite Omar, who will be sharing what he learned in the Designing with Nature skill path. On this pathway, Omar learns about biomimicry and its implications on future solutions. Please welcome Omar.
Hello everybody, my name is Omar Abdin, and today I want to talk to you about something called biomimicry. If you didn't know, I'm an artist. And as an artist, every time I see something beautiful, both aesthetically and functionally, I try to sit there and appreciate it. And one of the things I find myself appreciating the most is nature. I, among many people, consider nature the perfect blend between functionality and aesthetics. And if we take a closer look, we can see nature's subsystems. And those subsystems is subsystems. And it goes on and on until the last subatomic particle. Through the School of Humanity, I learned about something called biomimicry. Biomimicry is the process of replicating nature in order to create sustainable solutions to modern problems, while maintaining aesthetic value. Through finishing my skill path, I learned about multiple examples of biomimicry, one of them being an internet hosting service inspired by honeybees. These people took honeybees and their functionality and their organizational skills in order to create a better hosting system and in order to create a modern solution to a modern problem. Another example is mushroom packaging, a sustainable solution to pollution and plastic packaging that can completely revolutionize how we look at the industry. And this is what biomimicry is all about, using nature in order to help us save what we have. A more popular example of biomimicry is the Japanese bullet train, inspired by a bird's beak. As we can see, not only did it take from its functionality through aerodynamics, but also through the aesthetics. Here's some examples of beautiful designs utilizing nature through biomimicry. Here's the design of a lamp inspired by a shell. And here's a building inspired by a rose. And here's another building inspired by a ladybug's wings. These are things we don't notice at first, but in the end, we can see where the designers truly took the inspiration from. Ladies and gentlemen, biomimicry is something truly beautiful. And whether it ends up being awesome or just downright goofy, it's something we can truly learn from. And through, biomimicry is something that can help us save the planet and look good while doing it. Thank you for listening to my presentation.
Thank you, Omar, for that inspiring presentation on biomimicry. Now, some of our skill paths at School of Humanity are more focused on softer skills, such as time management and organization. I'd like to invite Dahlia now to present her journey with these skills.
Everyone's experienced the overwhelming feeling that your life is just a giant mess, right? And that's normal. As a human being, you're likely to have a lot going on, and it can be difficult to gain control of your life. At School of Humanity, two of the skill paths that I chose to complete were time management and organizational techniques. So first, I'm going to be going over a brief introduction of what these terms actually mean. So first of all, it involves making the best use of time and managing it effectively. Secondly, it's making sure you plan and set goals, including small steps of how you can reach those goals. Next, it's prioritizing activities based on urgency and importance, and envisioning a timeline or timetable for you to achieve those goals. So I'm going to be going over a few organizational techniques that you can implement into your life. So first of all, keep it simple. There's no point trying to create some elaborate or complex system to keep your things organized. It's much easier to maintain if you have a simple system. Next, make sure you develop routines, particularly if they're tasks that you do on a daily or weekly basis. It might be hard at first, but eventually it will turn into a habit. Next, keep to-do lists. Make sure you're constantly updating them and ticking off the tasks that you complete. And also, it would be preferable if you keep it in one place, so either on your computer or a notebook to keep it easier to manage. Here are a few organizational tools that you can use to stay organized. My personal favorite is Evernote, which allows you to keep to-do lists and sort them based on topic and save files as well. It's basically a really holistic tool that allows you to stay organized. Another way to stay organized is ensuring your goals are SMART, so make sure they're specific to your goals that you want to achieve. Make sure they're measurable, so you know when you're progressing. Make sure they're achievable, so not too hard but also not too easy. Make sure they're relevant to goals that you want to achieve, and ensure they're time-based as well. So here are a few time management techniques. First of all, this is the Eisenhower Matrix. It's a grid that you use to separate your tasks based on urgency and importance. And the one you want to focus on is the top left box, because that's where your most urgent and most important tasks go. These include things such as deadlines for school projects. The box that you want to focus the least on is the bottom right one, as this is where your least important and least urgent tasks go. And these you should just discard of and try not to focus on. Time confetti. This is the idea that every time you get distracted, it amounts to a large amount of time being wasted. And this is important for one key fact, which is that it takes 20 minutes to refocus after a distraction. So obviously, every time you get distracted, it's going to take a long time to get back on task and focus on your priorities. Here are a few more anti-distraction apps that you can implement. They have some basic functions, including disabling social media apps after you use them for too long, as well as switching off notifications from social media so you don't get distracted. Finally, what are the benefits of implementing these techniques into your life? Well, first of all, you'll be able to prioritize your tasks and focus on the most important ones. Then you can focus on what you want to achieve and the goals you want to achieve in your life. You'll achieve balance in life and freedom from chaos, gaining control over your life. And finally, you'll be less stressed and achieve more confidence. And that's definitely something I found when I was taking part in these skill paths. I want to thank all of my mentors for helping me through this journey, and I hope I helped you with something else.
Thank you, Dalia. I'd now like to hand over to Sama to introduce the Flourishing.
So one of the most meaningful features of any School of Humanity program is the weekly Flourishing sessions. We know today that soft skills and emotional intelligence are just as equally important as any hard or technical skills. We also know that in order to make the world a better place, we need to start focusing on our emotions and our minds. So during our weekly Flourishing sessions, we learned how to overcome our ego, form meaningful friendships, and also find purpose in life. We practiced meditation and mindfulness, and we learned how to tap into the motivation that we need for our daily life. We would now like to invite a few of our learners to showcase some of the key concepts and skills they learned during the Flourishing sessions. So first, I'd like to invite Dara to share her learning journey on the Flourishing path at the School of Humanity. A round of applause for Dara, please.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for being here today. My name is Dora, and today I'll be presenting the Flourishing curriculum. But first, I want to start off with a question. How many of you take time in your day to focus on your mental health? Please raise your hand if you do. Okay, well that's great, but hopefully this presentation will motivate you to start taking care of your mental health and show you the importance of how it is to take care of your mental health. So I want to give a brief overview of the curriculum. The Flourishing curriculum is for 6 months, and the Flourishing sessions are on Monday for each week for 1 hour. And during these 6 months, my peers and I discussed topics on how to lead a better life and how to start thinking better in certain situations. The most impactful sessions for me were Ikigai, meditation, and fixed and growth mindset. Ikigai is the Japanese word for a reason for being. And Ikigai has 4 concepts: what you love, what you are good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. And I'm sure that all of you can find something that links to all of these 4 concepts, which would be fitting for you and the world. Fixed mindset and growth mindset. Someone with a fixed mindset would say intelligence is fixed, which means intelligence cannot be improved, and if you are not smart, that will not change. But someone with a growth mindset would say intelligence can be developed with effort and dedication, and if you are not smart, that can be changed if you want it to be changed. And someone with a fixed mindset would say don't practice, as that won't benefit you, and if you are not good at something, it won't do you any good to practice, as you will not be good at it. But someone with a growth mindset would say do practice, as you will get better results if you do practice. And if you are not good at something, that can be improved with skills and ability and many things. And for example, for me, my friend got a better math score, and I got demotivated. And after the Flourishing session, I realized how much effort my friend was putting into her studies, and I decided to do the same. By now, I am seeing some better results, and this is why it is very important to have a growth mindset. During these Flourishing sessions, we would just take time to meditate. This is really good, as just breathing and having a time to just focus on yourself is really important, as it just makes all of your stress go away and all of your worries, because mostly people worry about things when life should be easy go. And I'm sure if you all find some time to just focus on yourself for the day, it will really do you some good. Human flourishing is the ability to live a good life. This should be taken seriously, as human flourishing has been proven to change your life both physically and mentally, but also encompassing happiness, life satisfaction, meaning, purpose, character, and virtue. If everyone had flourishing sessions on a regular basis, the future generation would be a lot more fortunate, and they would be a lot more happier and healthier mentally. I would really recommend you to start your journey on human flourishing, as it would really benefit you in the future. Thank you for listening, and thank you for Raya, Aisha, Kata, and Paul for supporting me throughout this journey.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dara. But before going into our last segment, we're now going to have a panel discussion with some of our learners focusing on human flourishing. I'd like to invite Daniel, who will be moderating this panel. He will be joined with Dara, Kaylin, and Murtaza. Can we please have a round of applause for them?
So, hi guys, I'm Daniel Nosri, and I'll be beginning the panel. So, what does the Flourishing curriculum look like in School of Humanity? Murtaza, would you like to answer that?
So it's a very interactive and fun session led by Kata, our coordinator. And it's basically an insight into who we are as a person, learning about our personality and who we are within situations and outside as well.
Just to develop on that a bit further, we do a lot of interactive sessions that consist of meditation, and it's sort of just an unwinding process to break free from, maybe tedious work. It really does develop your personal skills, and just helps you to better yourself in that sense.
Honestly, the sessions really make you think more about yourself and have time in your day to focus just on you and just talk about everyone and just focus on yourself, and it really helps you develop some new skills and honestly some abilities.
Perfect. So the next question I want to ask is that what were your favorite exercises and topics within these Flourishing sessions, and why? Because personally, I thought the meditation programs were really helpful because it helped me really think about my surroundings and about myself, and just put me in a more calmer state with you have a lot of academics at times and pressure.
Yeah, I think I would say the same as well. The meditation sessions were really helpful. I think it was a really nice break from, a school day. All of us are, we have a pretty similar schedule. But also the whole Ikigai concept. So for those of you who are not aware of what Ikigai is, it's a concept where you develop a greater purpose of life. So it's really helpful for students, especially who are now on the brink of choosing their career paths. It provides you lovely insight into what you would like your future to hold for yourself. So that's something I enjoyed very much.
For me, it would probably be fixed mindset and growth mindset, as it really allowed me to see how different people think and the different perspectives between people. And it really showed me the importance and how people think usually in their daily lives, which is why it's important to have a growth mindset.
So for me, it's personally the ego and learning about the three types, being the id, which is based on instinct, the ego, which is a more realistic type of view of the world, and the superego, which is a full morality-based perspective. So learning about the three of them and actually identifying which one I am the most and which one because it's a spectrum, and through the sessions we actually learn which type of ego we are. So it gives a great insight into who we are as a person.
So you've experienced the Flourishing program for approximately 6 months till now, and I'd like to ask, which areas were you able to develop in yourself, and additionally, what are your key takeaways from this experience, and how has this helped you improve yourself? Marisa, would you like to begin?
So we learned many things, such as how to deal with difficult conversations, like I said, the ego, growth mindset. But for me, it's personally, I developed in my motivation the most. Learning about the growth mindset actually helped me understand how I lose motivation and how I can actually gain it back, such as setting realistic goals throughout the day or just taking a small break. Those small things really help in keeping me going when working on a project.
I think for me, one of the main takeaways was certain attitudes that you develop throughout this whole process. Learning how to take every scenario as a learning experience and really developing this positive attitude towards tackling the solution, and also just being part of a group and learning to work collaboratively with them.
For me, it would probably be confidence and contribution, as in the Flourishing sessions, you were really allowed to just express yourself and talk about how you feel. And it was a very safe space to talk about what you really like or dislike, and also the contribution, because usually I don't really contribute in many things, but the Flourishing sessions really made me feel like a place that I should contribute in.
So after having this whole Flourishing sessions, would you recommend this experience to anyone else? And if so, how can one actually begin their own human flourishing activities?
So I would definitely recommend this to someone because it gives you a great insight into actually who you are. So a good way to start is by a simple meditation. Like we did in our Flourishing session, we would always start with a simple meditation. And at the start, it was really difficult to be one with yourself and forget about the surroundings. But as you go along, the better you get at it, and the easier it is to actually block out everything that's around you and just be with yourself.
Something that I would recommend to start your Flourishing session would be making small changes that move towards self-care in your everyday life. So things like unwinding from your work, take a 5-minute breather, maybe listen to some music that makes you happy, because your mental health is most important, and if that's at its best, your other work is automatically, it's efficient and you're doing the best you can.
Yes, I would really recommend the Flourishing sessions to everyone, as honestly how you could do this is just set some goals to maybe learn about some Flourishing topics, as maybe you might find them interesting, and because the Flourishing sessions really make you find out who you are and find out what you like and dislike. And so I think it would be a really good thing for the future and for now to start learning more about Flourishing.
Lastly, do you guys have any last words that you want to add, or anything memorable you experienced within the Flourishing session?
I think for me, it was just the bonding itself that it creates between all your peers in the cohort. And it's just such a great experience to be part of such talented individuals, and it's definitely something that I recommend to all students. And it just really builds you up as a person and provides insight into small changes you can make in your life.
Yeah, that does us for now. Thank you so much for listening.
to our awesome Flourishing panel for their insights. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the last segment of the presentations, after which we will move to the exhibitions. During our final month of the program, we had the opportunity to participate in career pathways, which were essentially micro-internships. We worked with various companies and organizations from around the world and helped them solve their problems. We will now hear from a few of our teams on their journey. First, we have Rhea from the Future of Education pathway. Rhea and Zeyna worked with Upschool, an educational startup based in Turkey. It aims to upskill women to move into tech careers. I'd like to invite Rhea to share her journey in helping them integrate AI into education. A round of applause for Rhea, please.
Who here thinks online learning is disengaging? Okay, perfect. Hello everyone, my name is Rhea and today I'll be discussing solutions of how students are disengaged in online learning, which many schools face this problem, and such as the company me and my peer Zeyna worked with, Upschool. So the main issue that Upschool was facing is the struggle to maintain student engagement, focus, and completion rates. And this resulted to high dropout rates because students are no longer interested in online learning. So the main causes for students' disinterest in online learning is poor time management, motivational issues, lack of human interaction and contact, poor support for students, and technical and adaptational difficulties. So the first solution that we've created is an AI solution. AI stands for Artificial Intelligence, and basically it's a software that is used by computers that mimics humans' intelligence. So the AI would affect Upschool's dropout rates, it would predict the success probability, provide at-risk students with more targeted engagement support, and improve retention rates. So how it would help is by identifying the reasons for students dropping out, determining the risk factors which undermine student engagement, and intervening at an early stage to improve the overall performance. So what the AI can do is it increases students' engagement, it has a 95% model accuracy, and reduced number of dropouts. So this is another AI feature offered by Quantify. It's an academic advising tool, which is intelligent virtual advising assistant. It helps with administrative needs, and live advisors can focus on more complex requests. It also has a 24/7 chat live availability, a quick request handling, fast response rate, and reduced manual effort. So the outcomes of the AI for Upschool is improving the students' experiences and objectives in their online learning, optimizing cost effectiveness, creating personalized resources and programs, and increasing student engagement. The second and final solution I've created is a checklist solution, which is a checklist that students and teachers basically follow to make sure that the students won't get disengaged in their online lessons. So what students can do is they can set up a comfortable workspace for themselves, put all distractions away such as their phones, make sure there isn't any noise around them, and more. They should always be ready to turn on their cameras and make sure that they're ready to take notes and have what they need open for their lesson. Now, what the teachers can do is ask questions throughout the lesson so the students would be more engaged and focused. They have to make sure that the students have their cameras on and no distractions around them, and they can point out if they do. And finally, make sure to keep their lessons exciting by adding visual representations or documents, and finding or creating online games, quizzes, and surveys. Thank you so much for your time, and especially thank you to School of Humanity for supporting us throughout this incredible journey. You can find me on my email, and you can check my LinkedIn. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rhea, for sharing your amazing experience. Next, I'd like to invite Kaylin, Daniel, Sama, and Vinika from the Future of Medicine pathway. This team will be sharing their experience on reimagining the future of mental health care online with Takallam. Takallam is an online therapy platform that provides Arabic and English therapy in the region. Please welcome them to the stage.
Hello everyone. So our presentation today is going to focus on our career path overview with Takallam. So for those of you who don't know, Takallam is an online counseling platform based in the UAE. and it is offering a private and personalized digital experience on a highly secured technology.
So just to provide some insight into what problems we dealt with throughout this internship, the first being expansion into the KSA region. So the question we focused here on was how do we actually attract a certain clientele within this region, and how do we make the company more familiarized to them? And secondly, it was affordability. Now, how did we actually make this fair to not just the consumer, but also to the counselors?
Working together in a team, we used each other's strengths to then come up with a range of solutions that we could use to address each of the problems by Takallam. The first one being conducting a market research and analysis report, in which we analyzed the attitudes, income, and age demographic of the target population. This knowledge was then used to then break the stigma and come up with solutions that we could use to reduce the negative attitude towards mental health. We also came up with a solution to communicate and collaborate with KSA-based counseling organizations and understand their techniques and methods to how we can moderate the prices of the service that Takallam provides. This would then provide better understanding of the target population and allow Takallam to specialize themselves towards KSA even more. Now looking at expansion, we looked at social media as one of our key solutions towards expansion, where we focused on having a more personalized experience for the user, where they feel like Takallam is always here for them. And through this, we came up with a personalized slogan called Finding Myself.
So after working with the internship for a couple of months, there were some major key developments. These included in 3 different areas. You have the skills, the mindsets, and the behaviors. So the first part is the skills. Most of us here have developed the skill of becoming great at problem solving. Why? Well, because we have developed the skill of critical thinking, where whenever you approach an obstacle, you think improperly. You don't just approach it without a method. So you always have to develop a method, construct something to approach that obstacle. Additionally, we developed a skill called the root cause analysis. So when you stumble across a problem, rather than just finding or just looking around the branches of the problem, you try to see what it's stemming from, which would then enable you to develop a solution which works effectively and is able to counter that obstacle. The second key development is mindsets. So within the group, we've all developed a growth mindset. What does a growth mindset mean? A growth mindset means that whenever you either fail or you find a negative part or you get challenged, you don't reminisce or you don't neglect about it, but then you treat everything as more or less an educational facility, like an educational curve. So say you did lose something, say you did do bad at something. You don't go home and be sad about it, but rather see what did you actually do bad at? How can you actually do better? And we've applied this to various different parts of our internship and thus developed something in a framework that worked really well. And finally, our behaviors. Everyone here has developed the skill of becoming more open-minded. And through that, we've developed effective communications between each other, where we're able to express what we think is right and what we want to express. And lastly, we're able to collaborate amongst each other. Through collaboration, you're able to achieve all of the different key developments. And yeah.
So some of our reflections involved, first I'd like to talk about the challenge actually. So the main challenge we faced as a group was how do we structure an effective deliverable to the company? And this ended up being a market research report. So how do we work on this? First, we took advice from our mentors. So Aisha, Paul, Raya, they've all been a great help to us. Secondly, we've always asked our peers for second perspectives because they might have a different angle to what you think. And lastly, we found that research is the foundation of any project, so we did allocate a lot of independent time towards research.
So before ending the presentation, I'd just like to dedicate some acknowledgments to people who have really supported us throughout the whole journey. My first one goes to Raya. Thank you so much for providing us with such a great opportunity to develop our personal and professional skills and to showcase our talent. I'd like to thank Aisha for being a constant support and excellent mentor to each one of us on our Saturday sessions, and Paul for always being there to help us think outside the box and work to our maximum potential, and lastly Kata for teaching us that humbleness and kindness are essential to life. Thank you guys so much. This is the Curated Resources.
Today we're going to be talking about our experience with ALMA Observatory. So let's get started. ALMA stands for the Atacama Large Millimeter Array and is located in the Atacama Desert in Chile. This observatory is used to capture brilliant images of celestial objects such as star formations and gas clouds. The observatory consists of 66 antennas, each of which is 12 meters in diameter. Now, these antennas work together cohesively as if they were one giant machine. The observatory was created upon an agreement funded by 3 partners, those of which is the Southern European Observatory, the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan, and the National Astronomy Radio Observatory located in the US.
So a few weeks ago, ALMA approached us with a problem. Not enough children were actually visiting their website. So through some analysis, we realized that the problem was there's a difficulty associated when understanding astronomy. So they asked us to design 3 games for children aged 8 to 16 so that we can actually get them interacting with astronomy and get them interested within the field.
To solve this, we came up with 3 solutions: Space Maze, Mars Matcher, and Planet Glacier. Our first game is Space Maze. Space Maze is a maze on a planet. It's a planet designed as a maze where you're an astronaut and you go through the maze where you're met with a gate. When you reach this gate, a question pops up on your screen, and you answer the question. If you get it correct, your oxygen level goes up by 10%. If you get it wrong, your oxygen level goes down by 5%, until you finish the maze.
Our second game is called Mars Matcher. It's a simple word-to-definition matcher. And at the end, when you finish it, you're met with a result screen that shows how much you got wrong. So when you complete this, if the player is looking for a challenge, they can actually move on to level 2, where there are less definitions and more words, increasing the difficulty of the game.
Our last game is Planet Glacier. In Planet Glacier, the user will have the planets of the solar system placed on the bottom of the screen, as you can see right here. And the objective of the game is to drag these planets into the right position in the dotted circles. Once the game is completed, a fun fact will appear about the solar system, and the player can play the game enough times to unlock a maximum of 12 fun facts.
So through this experience, we learned many skills. One of them, we learned collaborative and communication skills, where we actually worked in a group and came up with ideas by brainstorming them and communicated what our ideas were when we narrowed down to our final 3 games. We also learned innovative and design skills using apps like Canva to create a no-code prototype where it actually shows the functionality of the game as well as the design and how we would incorporate onto the website.
When reflecting on our solutions, we realized that the main purpose of this goal was to inspire the younger generations for them to be interested in astronomy and to nurture their love for space and its unlimited mysteries.
We also got the opportunity to create a marketing project and discover strategies used to enhance our games and maximize their potential.
Like any other project, there are bound to be obstacles. One of our obstacles were actually narrowing down which games we wanted to do out of the many ideas we had. So through some collaboration and some analysis of which games best suit the problem, we came up with the main 3 ideas we showed you before.
Thank you for listening. Please scan the QR code to contact us.
Thank you, Mirza, Rami, and Noor for the inspiring presentation. We've now come to the end of the presentation segment of the showcase. Thank you to our wonderful audience here at Expo 2020 and our virtual audience from around the world. We are very grateful that you joined us today.
We would like to share a big thank you to the Alpha Time Education Foundation team for enabling us to experience this innovative program, especially with the scholarships. We are really grateful to our peers and families for supporting us throughout the journey. We would also like to thank the DUBAI CARES team for hosting this wonderful event and welcoming us to their pavilion today. This program, at the end, would not have been possible without all of our mentors and learning facilitators who helped us and guided us through the process. So, on behalf of all the learners, we want to say thank you to the entire education team at the School of Humanity. Thank you so much.
Above all, we would like to congratulate all of our learners for their hard work in the last 6 months. Not only have we all developed skills, mindsets, and behaviors, we have also taken a small step towards making the world a better place. We know that it has been a lot of hard work and rigor, and we'd just like to take a moment to appreciate that. So a round of applause for all the learners.